An alliance between the Seleucid and Pontic Empire had been struck with the main goal of advancing their western territories into Macedon, Dacia, and eventually the Germanic lands to the north. After hearing of this news, a Macedonian messenger sent word to the Dacians and Germanic tribes for a meeting and an alliance to be struck until this threat could be eradicated. Macedonian scouts had spotted a forward force numbering 5,000 Pontic and Seleucid soldiers. In this force, roughly 900 of the soldiers were on horseback, 3,700 were infantry, and the rest made up the skirmishing component. Seeing that this force was clearly setting up camp and waiting for reinforcements, Macedon and their allies looked to break this army and send the Seleucids a message. They raised an army numbering 9,000 soldiers, with a much superior cavalry force totaling 2,200 men. The rest of the army was made up of roughly 6,000 infantry and over 1,000 skirmishers. Hey, what's up guys, it's Fish here and welcome back to this absolutely massive 15,000 man 3 vs 2 online battle on the Ancient Empires mod for Total War Attila. Hopefully that intro kind of explained and set the scene for this scenario battle, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you do, make sure to drop a like and a comment, and we will just jump straight into the army comps. We will do these quickly as we do have to get through 5 players' armies, so we will just very roughly go over kind of the type of units everyone's bringing. So on my left flank as the defender, I have 2 or 3 units of these Galatian riders. These are a mercenary unit which Pontus have at their disposal. They are a melee infantry cav and they're pretty decent. They're not the best in the world, but we're going to need them to hold their own against the huge cavalry force that the enemy are bringing, which we will look at and you guys saw in the intro. Then to make up the rest of my cavalry force, I have 3 units of these Sarmatian horses. These dudes are good shot cavalry, they're fast and they can get in and out of combat very efficiently. Then supporting my cavalry, I have 5 units of these light, what are they called? Pontic spears? Pontic reform spears. These guys are not heavily armored, but I don't need them to be. I need them to be quick so they can get into the cavalry engagements and help out where is needed. You can already see on the map as well how the enemy is slowly enveloping us. It's pretty crazy. I have 2 or 3 more units. These kind of make up the rest of my force in my spear department. Then on my front line, I have 4 units of these pikemen. As you can see, they don't have shields and they don't have a lot of armor, and you guys will find out in a second why that's bad when we look at Petellius' force, who is my opponent on this left flank. Then behind that, I have my most elite infantry. These guys are the Pontic Royal Guard. They are extremely good at holding the line, and looking at this battle, I probably should have used these guys more on my left flank, but again, we'll get into that in a little bit. Then behind that, I have my general unit with a cataphract unit. Then if we look at Havoc's army, the dude who is defending my right flank, my brother in arm, we have this main line of silver shield phalanxes. These guys are really good and they're probably going to outmatch the majority of the enemy forces that come his way. Then behind that, he has 3 units of these Cretan archers, a very elite archer force, so that's going to be in our favour. Then behind that, he has probably one of the strongest units in the game. These guys are absolute beasts, these Royal Galatian Guard. They're extremely good in melee offense. I believe they have a few more stats than my Royal Pontic Guard. So these guys are going to do work in this battle, which is definitely something we need, as you guys can see by the balance of power. Us only having 6,000 men and the enemy having just over 9,000. We definitely need all the help we can get. Then here's his general unit back here. Then supporting his cavalry force, he has 2 units of these cataphract horses. Again, a very, very elite horse force. These guys look extremely awesome. Then in front of that, he has 3 units of these Cappadocian horses. Again, not as heavily armoured as the cataphracts, but still good nonetheless. Then Havoc finally has 3 units of these hoplites, which are going to be a good holding force. And finally 2 units of horse archers. Then if we look at the enemy forces on this left flank, we have the Dacians with their shield walls making up the majority of his front line. I believe he has 4 or 5 of these guys. Then in reinforcement, he has 4 units of these Dacian nobles, an extremely potent melee infantry unit, supported by more Dacian shield walls. Then he has 2 units of these slingers, and finally his cavalry force. He has 3 units of Dacian heavy horse over here, and I believe he has some more scattering around the battlefield, but I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, all the way back here. No, this is for Macedonian horses. So then we have 2 units of Macedonian horses back here, some Thessalonic cavalry, and then the exact same setup over here. More cavalry on this right flank. This is where more of the Dacian horses are. Here's some more heavy horse right there. and then some more mercenary shot coursers over here. So there's so many horses, it's crazy. Absolutely is. Then if we look at the Macedonian front line, we have a main contingent of these bronze shield pikemen. These guys are pretty decent, but the silver shields are going to be able to outmatch them just because they're much stronger, and they'll be able to do a lot more work because they just have more armor to defend themselves. So the silver shields will be able to defeat these guys, but the Macedonian player does also have these awesome red cape warriors right here who are going to be ferocious in battle. And I believe his main sword line back here, he has Thracian military settlers with their falcons. Then we have some more Royal Peltists. These guys obviously pack a punch in their throwing missile abilities, but also can definitely do work in melee combat. And I believe he just has some more Thracian military settlers over there. So finally, the last player before we get into this epic 15,000 man battle. On the front line, Petellius has 4 units of these Germanic nobles of the late period, so extremely strong. They have decent armor on as well. Then behind this is what I was talking about earlier. He has 3 units of these Germanic longbows. These dudes have an absolute disgusting range. So he can use these longbows just to pepper down my unarmored pike walls if I'm not careful. I'm definitely going to have to take the battle to him when he gets in range for sure. Then he has his general unit back here, Germanic leader. Looking very similar, but just a bit more heavily armored than his Germanic nobles. Then on his right flank, he has these spear infantry, who are again not as super heavily armored, doesn't have like a ton of armor on, but they're light and fast, which is all he needs these guys to be. Some more of these Germanic champions who are going to be good at killing my spearmen, and I think Petellius uses these guys really well. Then finally his cavalry force, he has 2 units of his shot course, and then 4 units of these Germanic heavy horse. So, oh my god, there's just so much cavalry. Look at it all. They have cavalry in reserve back there. It's absolutely disgusting. So me and Havoc have decided just to fall back to the end of the map. And let me know in the comments down below and by liking this video if you guys want to see more of these massive online battles. Because, you know, it's all fun and games playing against the AI, but also doing this against actual people is just awesome. And if it does get a little bit choppy, a little bit laggy, then what you guys can do is you can stick on the YouTube speed to 1.5 times speed. And it should speed it up a little bit. It shouldn't make my commentary too loud or too, like, quick. And it kind of just speeds up a battle. So if you ever get a Total War battle which is too laggy, you can just speed up the YouTube player and it shouldn't be too bad. So let's start the battle. We're going to continue start the battle by moving up my Scythian archers, which I actually forgot to mention, who aren't exactly great. As you can see, they are getting peppered by the Germanic longbows right now. We're obviously going to cinematic mode. But yeah, these guys are going to stand 0 chance, because as well as that, the Germanic longbows, we also have the Macedonian slingers as well, who are taking shot after shot after shot at my Scythian archers, and they're really not going to be doing too well, because we do have the Germanic longbows as well, as you guys know, are just extremely good, shooting out so many of these shots. So my initial plan was to move over my spearmen so that their shields could protect my pikemen. But me and Havoc were talking, and we decided that we just needed to rush the enemy. We just needed to advance forward and take the battle to them. Because if we sat still, the enemy had, probably 2 to 3 times our skirmish force. So we just needed to move forward, and as you can see, that's exactly what we're doing, rushing forward. And that does encourage the enemy forces to come forward. And then we get a huge cavalry engagement over here. We've got my cavalry going in and my Germanic horses also pushing in as well, throwing javelins before they engage. And this is going to be the key turning point of the battle. I'm also moving in my spearmen as well to try and support my cavalry, as we are heavily outmatched. We are heavily outnumbered. I get another beautiful charge in here with more of my horses. And we just need to ensure that we win this engagement. This is the key to victory. Considering we're outnumbered almost 2 to 1, we need to win this engagement as quickly as possible. I do manage to catch a few of Petellius' horses with my spears, but I don't get too many kills on them. I do an okay amount, but you just see the sheer amount of missile fire coming in right now is absolutely disgusting. Petellius is going to charge his Germanic nobles onto my spears. And this is where I need my line to hold. I need my pikemen to do the best work they could possibly do to cull the enemy. You can see they're doing a good job in the initial engagement, but as the battle starts to go on, the Germanic nobles will be breaking through, and as you can see, the Germanic nobles have a shield, a longer sword, and better armor So as soon as they get into the formation, they're going to be doing work against his pikes. But as long as I can keep him at range, I stand a chance. As well as that, I'm actually engaging some of the bronze shields as well. As the pike formation over here gets closer and closer, the fire arrows going in from the havoc, which is nice. But the main engagement right now is over here on this flank as the Germanic longbows just pepper into the backs of my spearmen. He does also push up his Germanic champions as well into the side of my spearmen, which is again a really smart move by Petellius, because he knows that his cavalry is going to win the day if he, if it's just cavalry on cavalry. So it's kind of like rock, paper, scissors in a way. The cavalry, is going to win the day, but I have spearmen to kind of turn the battle in my favor. So then Petellius engages some infantry to defeat the spearmen, so then his cavalry will just turn back to winning. So overall, it's a really smart move by pushing in this infantry. And I think it's something I'm going to adopt as well when I can, because swordsmen get wrecked on charges. So if you engage with spearmen and then use your swords to kind of take out the enemy spears, I think that's a really good idea. But yeah, we just need our horses and our infantry to be holding the line here. I believe more cavalry, as you can see, coming into this battle, going to be charging in against my Sarmatian cavalry. I know my Sarmatian cavalry is good, and I believe this Macedonian cavalry, which has come across the entire battlefield, isn't going to be doing too good against my forces. But again, I'm just trying to pull it back, find better spots to attack, and just push in more infantry. The engagement over here with the silver pikes and the bronze shields are in fully underway now, as they just going clashing. I also moved up a unit of my Royal Pontic Guard to help support in the side, because I believe if we can break this flank, we can completely outflank the entire center of the Macedonian players' forces. As well as that, Havoc is kind of taking on two enemies right now. He has an entire Dacian spear wall up against his hoplites right now. But as well as that, he has his Germanic Royal Guard up against the Dacian nobles. And if any unit here is going to outmatch the Dacian nobles, it is this Galatian Royal Guard. They are so good and really, really strong. But Havoc is obviously struggling over here. Just as I've mentioned several times before, the sheer amount of cavalry the enemy have is really hard to deal with. It really, really is. And Havoc is going to be trying his best. But by the looks of it, he's going to just edge too far with his horse archers before getting them out. And the enemy cavalry is just going to run them down. And obviously, they're just going to be no match whatsoever for this Samaritan cavalry. No match at all. Yeah, you can see their armor is just so light. We have horses around here, which I assume are going to hammer an anvil into the back. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. This is really good by the Dacian player, throwing in their javelins first and then charging in. That's going to be all she wrote for the cavalry on that flank for sure. Luckily, on the other side, we do have some infantry going our way. If we just slow-mo, we'll start the camera and just go down this battle line, because it is absolutely epic. Like, look at that. The fire arrows going over the top is glorious. But the Seleucid Empire with their hoplites trying to hold back the Dacian shield wall is really cool. The amount of fire arrows. Havoc's trying to use his fire arrows just to rout the enemy as best as possible. The silver shields and the Macedonian bronze shields are fighting hard. Some of them in a standoff position, not wanting to move onto the enemy pikes, which is a very smart move. But if we go down the line a bit more, we can see that they are going head to head right now. Even the enemy general pushing on the silver shields right now. Yeah, right here is a brutal engagement for the pikemen right now. Because I have noticed sometimes the pikes just kind of sit in a standoff formation, and you really just have to move them forward onto each other. And you can see right here that the red capes and the silver shields are just stabbing wherever they see a gap right now, trying to keep the enemy at bay. And really, we need this engagement to go in our favour. That's why I brought up my Pontic spears. However, the Macedonian player threw in his Theodosian settlers to kind of counter me. As well as that, he also used some of his more red cape pikemen just to go into the side of my Pontic Royal Guard. But as you guys know, my Pontic Royal Guard are elite, and they're going to be able just to push these guys back. They are still spearmen, so they are more of a slow grind, but they will eventually win this, and the Theodosian settlers won't be able to push these guys back, even with the support of the pikemen. The Macedonian player is also helping out his Germanic ally over here by bringing over a unit of pikemen to help out his line. My pikemen actually did an amazing job. You guys can see if I speed up the camera a little, I actually managed to rout 2 units of Petellius' main infantry line with my pikemen. You know, because they are pikemen and they are up against swords, they actually did a really good job. I was very happy with their ability at holding back the enemy. So the Pontic pikemen are pretty decent, at least against other sword infantry. They might get slaughtered, say, against the Macedonians. Or maybe the Seleucids or something. But, you know, against sword infantry, they did very well. So, unfortunately, on this left flank, you can see we are starting to get absolutely demolished. Our units are routing, our spearmen are giving up. And even Petellius has thrown in his general as well to try and turn this tide. Havoc still has a few units over here, but it's not looking good for us. But sending in the extra infantry was really good. And I mean, ideally, I should have just thrown in my Pontic Royal Guard. This cavalry engagement was so important. And if I would have committed my Pontic Royal Guard to it, I think I could have maybe turned the tide and outmatched the Germanic cavalry. But unfortunately, it just wasn't the case. And that's going to leave this unit of Pontic Royal Guard out by themselves with no support. I believe Havoc did manage to get his horses onto the back of the Germanic archers, but they did get soonly cut down by the Macedonian support with the horses. So it just allows these Germanic longbows to continuously keep shooting into my phalanxes. They must have racked up so many kills. So I see the flank is lost, and I decide to withdraw all my pikemen back to the kind of just try and close off this line a bit more, so we still hold a chance. Because, you know, Havoc is doing a good job over here. His fire arrows are pushing back. You see the amount of Macedonians dead on the floor right here. So Havoc's doing a good job at holding. His pikemen are a lot stronger than mine. I do also get a really nice charge of my general into the back of these pikemen back here from the Macedonian player. So my general should be doing work against these guys. I do also use I managed to turn my pikemen just in time to fight Petellius' cavalry. And if we can kill this cavalry, we might still stand a chance in this battle. This is really our only hope. So I'm going to be pushing on these horses as quickly as possible. I've got a few units of my own Pontus pikemen holding back the bronze shields of the Macedonian player and the reinforcing Germanic infantry. It was just such a brutal battle indeed, but an awesome one nonetheless. Like, I love these last stand type battles where we're heavily outnumbered and there's no hope, only a fool's hope, as Gandalf would say. I think it's really awesome, and my Pontic spearmen are starting to get surrounded. They're getting shot by the horse archers over there. And as you can see, Petellius is ramping up to get a rear charge on the back of my Pontic spears, which is just not going to be good. But they are elite. They are Royal Guard, and they will not give up this battle without a fight. And they will fight to the bitter end, if that is what is called upon them. And they will do gloriously. So if we look over here on the right side, we can see that the Galatian swords are still doing work, but the cavalry is just overwhelming them. I believe they managed to break the Dacian spear wall, but then they just got engaged from the rear as well by some more spearmen from the Macedonian player. But again, the swords should be doing pretty decently against these Macedonian spears. So I'm expecting these guys to hold for a little bit longer. If we look at our main line as well, you can see certain units are starting to break. However, the hoplites from the Seleucid Empire are doing decently. The silver shields managed just to break the center of the Dacian player, sending him back. So there is still hope. If we can just cause a mass rout, then maybe we can claim victory against these online players. If we go down the pike line, you can just see this sheer destruction that has been caused, the brutal essence of war with the amount of dead bodies laying on the floor. There we go, more of Havoc's infantry is going to rout. The silver shields have had enough, and they are going to fall back to fight another day. My general, I tried to pull him out and he got slain, which was unfortunate for me. I guess I should have left him in, but I really wanted to withdraw him from the battlefield. The Pontic Royal Guard is still holding, and as you guys can probably tell by now, me and Havoc do not claim victory today. We were heavily outnumbered, and our soldiers just weren't enough. We needed to win that cavalry engagement, but being as outnumbered as we were, Unfortunately, it was just not enough, so we are going to lose today. The alliance between the Seleucids and the Pontic Empire is going to be broken here, and our armies are going to be sent back. Our advance into Europe and the Baltics is not going to be enough, and there we go. It was a decisive defeat by us. We did manage to kill an okay amount of the enemy forces. You know, killing 2,000-3,000 was not bad. And we did rout a ton more of their soldiers, which don't come up in the losses. So we did do okay. My Pontic Royal Guard really being the MVP, and my pikemen, considering they had no armor, they did exceptionally well. I'm really, really impressed by how well they did. The cavalry just not doing enough, and we needed them to do enough. If we look at the enemy forces, we can see the Macedonian player, his cavalry just doing work. And again, that's really what turned the tide for them. If they didn't have this much cavalry, we could have feasibly have won the battle, even though we were so outnumbered by their superior skirmish force and infantry force. But really, as I said, just the cavalry really just helped them out. If we look at Havoc's army, we can see his Cappadocian cavalry doing well. Oh my god, his Cataphracts really didn't do that well, which is surprising. I thought these guys would do a ton better. His general doing good. But, you know, really the main strength in his army was his silver shield pikes. We look at the enemy forces, we've already looked at the Macedonian player. We look at Petellius and his Germanic force. You can see that his Germanic nobles doing good and his cavalry just doing the best. And even his general getting 140 kills and losing like no soldiers, so that's pretty impressive. Then finally, the Dacian player, you can see his cavalry just really, you know, just paying dividends and doing work. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure to drop a like and a comment if you want to see more of these massive online battles and you want to see more of the intro I did. So let me know what you guys thought of that down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time, and fish out.